All right, guys, welcome to the Torch Report. Going to have a little fun here. I'm trying to work on my audio quality. I want to apologize. It's just the last episode was kind of terrible. I tried to remix it. I tried to learn from some great guys on YouTube how to do it. I'm a rookie, but bear with me here. I really appreciate Russel Brand and his entire brand, but the way that he's kind of converged, he's come a long ways from being a far left kind of a guy to a kind of a common sense guy, calling it like it is and being open-minded and curious. And so he has some great things to say about what's going on. He's also in England, right? And so in this particular video, he's getting ready to share his perspective on American democracy, and he brings up a few really good points, and then he gets into some things that I'd like to discuss and have a conversation about. So let's go ahead and listen to Russell, and then we'll pick it up from there.
I'll let you know my somewhat independent perspective as a person from England, an outsider in the American culture. I wondered why there was a sense of sacredness around democracy when democracy has been failing American people for so long.
I wonder why democracy has such a sense of sacredness, even though democracy has been failing for so long. Let me just point out, Russell, and to all of those in the UK and around the world, and those right here in the good old US of A who believe that America is a democracy, that's a misunderstanding. We are a constitutional republic. Democracy does not work. Democracy devolves into mob rule, and so the framers, the framers of the Constitution, of our constitutional republic, the founders of the American way of life, set our country up as a constitutional republic for the purpose of protecting the minority from the mob rule majority. Now, with that caveat of clarification, let's continue.
In the same way that the monarchy in our country represents our national identity and our sacred values, but I think perhaps in practice operates as an emblem for oppression. Let me know what you think in the comments below.
Do I think that the crown represents an emblem of oppression? Absolutely. You know, all of the arguments against colonialism and conquering in the world, trying to promulgate and progenate one's own perspective and say that everybody has to swear allegiance to the way I think it should be, otherwise we're going to kill you and wipe you off the face of the earth. That really is a strong imperial impulse that stems directly from the self-righteous sanctimonious BS that comes from the royal crown. That said, let's hear what he has to say.
American democracy has failed on its promises to deliver a fair and equal society.
American democracy has failed on the promise to deliver a fair and equal society. Now, I'm curious why he thinks that, but let's see what else he has to say, because we've delivered prosperity, we've delivered liberation for slaves, for the whole. I mean, you think about what America has done, and it has accelerated positive change around the world in ways that were unforeseeable. And how did that happen? It was the great human experiment of founding a country of free individuals, of live and let live, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, the constitutional republic that restricts the government from oppressively and invasively interfering with people's lives, that allow people to really thrive and breathe, and in doing so, lift each other up so that we can all get along and get, better at being human.
Where ordinary American people of all colours, persuasions and varieties are able to live free lives. I don't think that's the America that democracy currently stands for. So
he doesn't think that American democracy stands for freedom for all. Why does he think that? I believe it is because of the social conditioning. All of this talk about American racism, systemic racism, this is cultural conditioning, but it's really psychological warfare. It's convincing people, whether we're talking about the 1619 Project, that America is inherently racist, that America is imperialistic, that America is terrible in every way. That is what is being taught in schools these days. Coming back to what Russell has to say, let's listen in.
I don't see the Capitol as a symbol of freedom. I see it as a symbol of oppression.
Me too. I don't see the Capitol as a symbol of freedom. I see it as a symbol of oppression, because the government is oppressing the people. Why? Because they are trampling all over the constitutional rights of the people.
And therefore, the desecration of that, for me, is not the desecration of the sacred, but somehow of the profane.
The desecration of this It's not a desecration of the sacred, but a desecration of the profane. So he's talking about the January 6th hearings, and this is the violent insurrection, wherein the only person that was shot was an unarmed civilian woman, and nobody was bringing guns to the Capitol. They were bringing signs saying, "We want justice and accountability for the elections, and before we certify this election, we want to get down to the bottom of a lot of evidence that seemed to indicate there was fraud going on." But they didn't want to hear that. They wanted to just go, "Yep, this is the greatest election. Joe Biden's the most popular president that was ever elected, and you can all go home now and sit down and shut up." That's what the January 6th insurrection was all about, was going there to protest and say, "Wait, time out. We the people demand to be heard. We have a right to ask these questions." And so if January 6th and all the peaceful protesters there who were invited into the Capitol after the guy looked up at the camera and said, "Hey, can we get in?" The guy said, "Yeah, go ahead, let them in." Okay, they come in. All of that kind of stuff. Yes, there's lots of footage out there of violence happening and violent things were happening, but friends, that's only one side of the story. And the other side of the story, whether it's the 2,000 Mules or some of the other j6truth.org. Here, this is a good one. Let's go check this out. You want to see some J6 Truth? Let's see. You notice how it didn't pop up. It should have popped up because somebody shared it with me and I went there, but I guess I didn't bookmark it. Bookmark that. Okay. So you want to know the truth about January 6th? Go to j6truth.org and check it out. You're going to find, hear the voice of a political prisoner. You're going to see footage that is very, very disturbing. Just going to give you the heads up on that. But you want to see the other side so that you have two great perspectives that then you can compare and contrast as an intelligent human being to form your own conclusion about what happened on that fateful day. Go check out j6truth.org. Don't be afraid of what you might learn, especially if it's not what you heard in the mainstream media. Back to Russell.
I would say violence is never acceptable, not just because of the moral and ethical implications, but because it's an unsuccessful method for instigating change.
Russel Brand says that violence is unacceptable in any situation because it's an unsuccessful way of instigating change. Now, Russell, my dear, beloved fellow human being, I have immense respect for your intellect, for your perspective. I appreciate the way that you articulate things. And yes, I find value in your content and in your words. That said, I strongly disagree with what you just said. I'm going to back it up a little bit and we're going to break it down just a touch.
Acceptable, not just because of the moral and ethical implications, but because it's an unsuccessful method for instigating change.
Now, is violence an unsuccessful method for instigating change? On its face, that's a fallacy. That's a logical fallacy. It does not compute. That doesn't make sense. It's not a rational statement. Violence affects change very rapidly, and violence has caused change that was good. Imagine, for example, if somebody was being you saw a woman and a child being abused, and you said, "Please stop doing that. Stop hurting that innocent woman and child." And the person that said, "Bam," and smacks you. Are you going to change your behavior? Yeah, probably you might cower, go roll up in a ball and urinate on yourself, right? Because you're a coward. But in reality, the aggression, the step in, be willing to get punched in the face and pummel the shit out of the abuser to protect the innocent will affect change. And not only will it affect change in that moment, meaning it would prevent further abuse of the innocent, it would also rock that abuser's world, the bullies in the world, rock that person's world, and probably cause them to reconsider their evil ways. So violence has a place in nature. I kid you not. Think about a mother bear trying to protect her cubs from the old burly Bruin coming around. Think about it over and over and over again. Aggression, violence, it's natural, it's there, it's an inescapable aspect, inseparable aspect of our humanity. There will always be violent people that are going to use violence for evil purposes, and unless there are good people willing to stand up and match that aggression, and dare I say match that violence in such a way as to bring balance and to the power, the struggle of power between good and evil, between dark and light, between yin and yang, all of that is necessary in order for the world to function. So I love yoga. One of the principles, yamas, is ahimsa. It's to do no harm. We don't want to have to fight But boy, if it comes down to fighting and being violent or standing by and watching innocent people suffer, I will stand up and I will fight and I will be violent in the process so that I can protect people. All right. Just had to get that off my chest because that is it sounds so nice. It's so smooth to say, we don't want to be violent. Violence doesn't fix anything. Horse shit. Violence fixes all kinds of things, and if you wanted to just imagine back in the day, you got some crooked politician or crooked mayor, town mayor, crooked judge, crooked cop or something. Back in the day, you walk in there, hey, you, bop, grab them by the ear, back of the hair, drag them out, and put your foot in their ass on the way out the door. And then all of a sudden, guess what? Harmony is restored. Have you ever seen the movie Tombstone, by the way? That's a really good example of that. And anyway, I think that's a big part of the American tradition. So I'm not going to hold it against Russell that he doesn't see it that way. I just wanted to clarify that is, in fact, an illogical statement to say that violence doesn't solve anything. So even if you don't agree with violence, you cannot be honest intellectually and say that that violence, that it's unnatural, because it's totally natural. It produces an evolutionary advantage. Okay. Also, intellectually, we must accept that violence is used and can be used for good, as in the protection of innocence. And anyway, guys, that's that. So I just want to have this little conversation with Russell and clarify that, get it out there. We'll see what else he has to say. We might sum that up.
I don't think human beings should be unkind or cruel to one another. And so there you go. I'll say that up front.
I don't think that human beings should be violent or unkind to each other either, but the fact remains that they are. That's just reality, and we have to deal with that. So, friends, if you're enjoying the Torch Report, go ahead and click that like, subscribe, click that little bell, keep the notifications going. I'm a rookie. I'm just getting this figured out, but that's the Torch Report, and until next time, stay curious. Hey, friends, thank you for joining me for a vicarious conversation discussing democracy with Russel Brand. I want to remind you to go check out theflameusa.com. Theflameusa.com. Again, they're spreading truth like wildfire. Friends, The Flame is a paper for the people, by the people, and it is a tool that can be used to overcome the reach beyond the censorship of the corporate media and to, battle back with good old school idea, printing the newspaper that offers views, commentary, resources, and more to promote critical thinking, to facilitate the discussion that can get our country back on track to the path of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. So please check out theflameusa.com, and you can support The Flame USA by clicking that link in the description below. Until next time, friends, stay curious.